All right. So who the hell is Whitman and why is he to blame for all this? That's what I want to know.
That's funny that you say that because people often think like a completely different thing every time. Like whether I've had people ask if it was a dog or our fat friend, but it's the town of Whitman. We used to practice there. It's where we
Oh,
like, yeah.
Whitman. I'm trying to think of where that is. I think I know every town in Mass. Is that, wait, I think I know. Is that near Haverhill?
Um, it's near like Weymouth, I think. I don't know.
Oh, it's south. I was
Yeah, it's
north.
south as fuck. It's like it's far away. I had never heard of it. We got a practice space out there years ago, and it was cheap and shitty in the best way possible. And so that's where we started playing. And I don't know, Whitman's got a vibe to it where like everything kind of goes wrong. And so yeah, blaming on Whitman ended up being said a lot.
And for all you people that aren't in Massachusetts and don't know what the hell we're talking about when we say Weymouth and Haverhill, they're actually towns in Massachusetts. Uh, you know, um, Usually I ask my guests where they grew up and what they were listening to in their youth. Uh, we have it's a little and then usually I say something about, oh, what were your parents listening to? This situation's a little different because I know your father. I didn't
Hmm.
realize that when I first met you. He's actually been on the show. Of course, we're talking about Kurt Davis, aka Yucky Guy. Um, so were you aware growing up that your dad was like an established musician? Did you have any idea?
Yeah, I was pretty aware. Like I knew that he had been signed to a major label and I knew that he had played with like Nirvana and like these bands that obviously like anyone would have heard of. So, and also like when I would meet his friends, they would jokingly tell me that I ruined his career. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, part of the reason why they kind of broke up was he kept touring and I was a sad little baby apparently and guilt tripping him. And so his friends used to be like, oh, like, he could have been a rock star, but, he cared about you too much. And I'm like sitting there like, God damn it. Like, did I just ruin my dad's
He
life?
is he is a rock star. I mean, you did not take his rock star away from him.
That's
Was
that's
that like
true.
that wasn't Bolt LaVolta though? That was like customized probably when you're a young, like were you born before Bolt LaVolta split up?
Yeah, I was born in 1990 and Bolt
Oh
LaVolta broke
yeah.
up in 1992.
Okay.
So,
Oh, it was close. It was close. Oh yeah. So you were a baby then. So that makes kind of sense. Yeah. I think we talked about this when he was on the show, and hey, there's got to be priorities. Bolt LaVolta was like they had hit a wall anyways. They
yeah.
really did. They had a label that didn't understand them or anything. Did you ever listen to them or Customize or the Conks or any of the bands that your dad was in?
Uh, I liked Bolt LaVolta a decent amount when I was young. Like when I was 11, like you got a picture that's like 2001, so that's like new metal is like taking over and like so I was a big Corn and Limp Bizkit guy, like or kid or whatever.
Oh,
Oh
that's
yeah.
it.
Oh
Podcast is
yeah.
over. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean you got to start somewhere. That was my shit for sure. um but yeah, so like it's funny because like Bolt Volta obviously isn't new metal, but there's some of that crossover. And so yeah, I remember thinking that Bolt Volta was pretty cool. uh yeah, I think everything my dad's done has been pretty cool. I don't know if I was a super rebellious kid in that way. Like I was always like, yeah, I like it.
You could, excuse me, you could listen to Bull. When I listen to him now, I do hear a little metal, but back then I didn't think they were. I never even thought they were anything like a metal band because they were
Oh,
more
weird.
punky to me. But that was a long time ago. So, when did you like besides the listening to that new metal and stuff? When did you take an interest in wanting to play? Like I think you told me you started with the drums also,
No, I was pretty much guitar right away.
guitar.
Yeah, my
Okay.
parents got me lessons when I was like 8. And those official lessons ended up fizzling out, but I just kept playing and playing, and that was always kind of the
You didn't
love.
play drums at all?
My little brother does, so that might
Oh,
be,
okay.
yeah, who's also like super talented and wicked good at everything he does. But he started as a drummer.
Okay, I knew someone in the family followed in dad's footsteps, you
Yeah,
know.
that's him for sure.
So guitar, huh? Did you like get your folks to get you a guitar at an early age, or did you go out and get one yourself, or how'd that work out?
I think my parents were like, throw anything at the wall and see if it sticks. So like it wasn't just music, but like, piano lessons was presented and like soccer and baseball and all of that shit. But like, yeah, guitar was just the thing that stuck.
So they let you
Um,
go in whatever direction. That's good parenting right there, you know?
yeah, it's funny because like, yeah, I think music was just always going to be a thing. They they pushed it because they love music, but they never like pushed it. I think my dad was probably like, you don't have to go down the music route. You know what I mean? Like, because he probably knows the goods and the bads. But yeah, it all worked out.
Was it
And my
just you and your brother?
yeah, that's my only sibling. Yeah.
And did either one of you lean more towards music initially?
That's a good question. Like, I probably did more than he did. He was actually good at sports, my little brother. Um, so yeah, I think it took him a little bit longer. He actually had a little rap career for a while. That was one of the first things he started doing before he like really got into drums and writing like songs. He was a rapper, and so that's how he dipped his toe into music originally.
Where did you guys grow up right in the city?
Yeah, we're from Dorchester.
Oh wow, that's a good place to grow up.
Yeah, it was dope. We liked it there, and yeah, I still like Dorchester a lot. Every time I'm back there, I feel at home.
I mean, it's very cultural, you know, there's a lot of different types of people in that area, and I always think it's really good to grow up in an area like that, you know. Do you still live in the Boston area now?
I'm in Newton right now. I sold
Newton.
out. Yeah. But it's nice. I live with two of my band members and my girlfriend. So it's like a big house and it's I don't know, it's a cool spot. We're liking it a lot.
You got a rock and roll household. That's good. There's a
Hmm.
lot of that out in that area over the years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I remember when we met at New Alliance, we were talking, Tang came up, and Curtis grew up in that area, and the first Tang, Auburndale, I think is right near Newton, or it's very close, or maybe even part of Newton. So it's not that bad. I mean, you're still close enough to Boston. Um, so how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize that. Wow, I didn't realize I thought you were younger,
Yeah,
which is not
I got good skin.
which is not an insult at all. So when did you start playing in bands? When did you start playing in bands?
So I met two kids in my neighborhood that liked the same music as me when I was like 13. At that point, it was like I was all in on punk rock, like bands like at that age, like it was Rancid and as cringe as it sounds, Dropkick Murphys and like all that stuff was like the original kind of like four-way into there. I met these two girls in my neighborhood that liked the same stuff, and we started a political punk band. I was 13, called Paranoid Army. Um, and yeah, so that was the first real band. Like we played shows and stuff, but we had a lot of trouble finding a drummer. And so funny enough, my dad actually ended up drumming in that band for a couple shows
Really?
and yeah, and all the recordings. Yeah.
Wow, where were the shows?
Like boys and girls clubs in Dorchester and stuff that like really like nothing. Oh, like Battle of the Bands at Boston Latin School, like just random
Oh,
true beginner stuff, but it was I don't know, it was a lot of fun.
and you recorded with that band too?
Yeah, there's recordings like around somewhere on my laptop.
So did you go into a studio, or did you do it at home, or how did you record?
We had a family friend who did it at his practice space. So it was like this is kind of before everyone could just record
Right.
with ease. So he happened to have a setup and like I would beg any adult I meet like to record the band. I'd be like, oh, like how could I do this? And he said yes. And so yeah, there's some recordings and they're probably cringe, but I have like fond memories of it. I bet it's good.
Probably could find a song or two in there and you didn't even realize you had. So there's a little bit of a time between then and now. And I think it was around 2018 that this band started. So what was the time span and were there other bands? I mean, what else were you doing? Did you go to college? I mean, what happened during all that time?
Um, yeah, there's always been other bands. So like after Paranoid Army, it would have been my high school band, the Jet Boys, which was like pogo punk. The brief, do you know the Briefs?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, like we just basically just wanted to be the Briefs, like really
Wow.
bad. So like polka
Interesting.
dotted ties and like striped shirts and like everything sounded like 77 pogo punk, you know. So that was the vibe for a while, and then that ended up going into a hardcore pop punk. We were a pop punk band, but all of our friends were hardcore kids, so we were playing like hardcore basements in Alston and places like the Rec Center. But we were a pop punk band, so that was Jumper with an exclamation point. And the drummer in that band ended up being like, I don't want to play drums anymore. I want to play bass. And I was like, well, let's just fuck around. And so when we started jamming, me on guitar, him on bass, that's actually what ended up starting Blame It on Whitman. So it kind of like went from Jumper to Blame It on Whitman um, through that. Yeah.
So Dan and Kevin, those are the two guys that you play with now. So you met them early on?
I've gone to high school with Danny and Kevin actually. Yeah, so I've known Danny since I was 14. We've been playing music together since I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in the Jet Boys too, I should have said. So he played drums in the Jet Boys, then played drums in Jumper, and then switched to bass for Blame It on Whitman. So I've been playing music with him now for like 20 years or something insane like that.
When did it start getting serious for you? Was Jumper a serious band for you at the time?
I feel like it's still not serious, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jumper was serious in the way that we put out an album. We put out two records and we played a million shows, but that was the extent of that. And then Whitman is legit in the way that, like, we've managed to make a little bit of a following and we've recorded a bunch of good stuff and have had some very, very small successes, but I still wouldn't say that it's like serious and it definitely, definitely doesn't pay anyone's bills, so.
That was definitely not the question because starving artists are all around. Believe me, I'm one of them. So Jumper, you said you put a record on. You did some touring. What kind of touring did you do? Was it local or did you go on the road? Did you ever get in a van and do some?
Jumper did some weekend stuff, but I wouldn't even say that Jumper went on tour. You know what I mean? It was just a lot of fucking basement shows. Like that was back when we were in our, that was from 19 to 25 essentially. And so like it was just basically basement shows. We were kind of like a fixture of the scene at that time. We were at that age where like all of our friends had houses. And so, it worked out. It was also before a lot of these buildings got demolished. Like a lot of these buildings aren't even here anymore. We're
You
talking
talking
about
about
like,
Alston?
yeah, like Rug Road and
Oh
all of
yeah.
that stuff. So
So you ended up living in Alston for a while after Dorchester?
I never lived in Alston. It was just that like our friend group
Right.
was
But you
just like
spent a lot of
heavily,
time there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like everyone I knew lived in Alston.
It's felt that way. It did feel that way for many, many, many years. They didn't call it Alston Rock City for nothing. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, times have changed in Boston. And a lot of people have moved to like Salem and other places now because it's not affordable, unfortunately.
No, it's one of the most expensive cities in the entire
Yeah.
country. And it's like we're not that cool. Like it's not New York City. It's not, you know what I mean? It just kind of feels like what? It's not worth it. But
Well, for other people, Boston is one of the cool cities. But if you
I know
grew up here and
I'm gonna
lived,
make people mad. They're gonna be like, I'm definitely not checking this band out. But I've lived here my entire life, so like I have a super love-hate relationship with it.
the music scene to me is like continually been great ever since the 70s, you know. It's like been a nonstop. You could name hundreds of bands, you know. Um, so did you go to college?
I did not. I didn't even graduate high school.
Really?
Nah.
What's the
I'm
story behind that?
uh I mean, like I was kind of like a troubled kid, just in the way that I wanted to cause trouble and I wanted, you know what I mean? I wanted to do the wrong things in life and go the wrong path. So at that point, I just wasn't going to school in anyway. So I dropped out. And then as my life went on and I got these opportunities and I don't know, I just kind of made it without it. And it just never became really a thing that I felt like I needed. I mean, people, when they find that out, are like, you should just do the GED. But it's like, but then I tell people I have a GED. I'd rather just like, a job doesn't specifically ask, especially if you're like, I don't know.
So did you like go to what kind of work did you do?
I've done everything. So like it was a lot of service stuff, cafes, restaurant. I worked at a gym for a while. I've been doing landscaping and masonry for 8 years, 7 years now. So that's the current hustle. But
Um,
yeah.
without being too specific, you said you got in a lot of trouble and you're looking for trouble. I mean, can you like give me a rough description of exactly what you meant by that?
I liked drugs a lot. I liked staying out a lot. I liked getting into mischief. I mean, I must have been arrested 20 times when I was a kid, like just
Wow.
constantly getting in trouble. I'm happy to say I've mellowed out a lot in my older age, but yeah, I was definitely a bit of a psycho back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I found myself in jail a couple of times. Only
I
for a
mean,
night each, unfortunately for me. Any longer than that,
mhm.
I probably wouldn't have survived. Um, so, okay, so far as I know, your history goes, it's funny how you kind of downplay yourself musically, because I think your music's fantastic. I've been spending a lot of time with it, and it's really good. Now, my history as far as Whitman goes is that you did demos with Dave Crespo at
Oh my God.
WEMF. Was there anything before that, or is that the very beginning of Blame It on Whitman as far as recording goes?
That was definitely the beginning. Do you know David Crespo?
You know, I know who he is. I know a lot of people that consider themselves his proteges, like Herb Morsiglio, who engineered many of my shows. And I know all the EMF crew, but I was not living here during
Hmm.
the Crespo era.
Yeah.
When he had the WEMF thing going on. I was going to ask you how you ended up over there in late 2017, I guess is when you recorded. And when you say you recorded with him at WMF, did you do that in the studio? Did you go to one of those rooms in the EMF building and record there? How did you do that? And
Yeah.
what?
It was a room in the sound museum that they had for WEMF, like on that other
Oh, so
side of the
this is
building.
before Cambridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or after
Um,
Cambridge. I'm not sure the order of that or whether they were in Brighton or Cambridge first. Do you know? Because I don't know.
no, I'm also unsure. But Crespo was one of those things where, like, you know how if, especially when a band starts, you play just the worst shows. Like every band on the bill doesn't sound like you. Maybe there's four people that aren't in the band. We were doing a lot of those in the beginning, and we kept telling ourselves like, there's a reason for everything. Even the smallest show gives you an opportunity. And I would say that the Dave Crespo thing was one of those because we played a show that literally had like three people, like none of our friends came, no one came. It was just a shit show. But he was there and he really liked us. And he came up and he was like, "Can I record you guys just for free?" And we were like, "Yeah, absolutely." Because we didn't have any money and we had no way of recording at that time. And so he just did it out of like the kindness of his heart. And so we recorded it all in one day. And then when it came to mixing and mastering, he had all the files on like a WEMF computer and he ended up moving to a completely different state. Like I think it was like across the country. And so we didn't really know that. And we hit him up. We were like, hey, can we get the final mixes or whatever? And he was like, oh my God, like, I actually am gone now. And all those files are on like some computer, but you can hit up my dude, Brian. So do you know Brian Murphy by any chance?
By name, yeah.
But
I think
anyway,
I've met Brian actually. Yeah.
yeah, so he finished the mixes and sent us the tracks. And I ended up starting a relationship with him. And he ended up recording me and my brother's band, Dance with Leland, in 2018. So that was pretty cool too. So yeah, it's a whole, like every, you meet one person, then you get something, then you get to meet another person, you get something.
You
It's,
recorded These Boots Were Made for Christopher Walken. I thought that was a clever title. Anyone would. Where did you record that?
that was there.
Oh,
That
you
was
did that
in,
with him also.
mhm.
Okay. So it was after that that you hooked up with Richard Marr and you actually made a record with Richard Marr at Galaxy. How did Richard get on your radar? I know Richard very well. He's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a good
he
dude.
he was already in Salem at this point.
Yeah.
So how did
Uh,
you go
I
ahead?
was so by like 2003, like I was saying, like I was getting into punk rock, and there were all these like really good shows at the Polish American Club in Dorchester at that time. And like like it was like bands like Toxic Narcotic and Stray
Oh yeah,
Bullets,
yeah, yeah.
and
A lot of kids probably showed up at those shows. Yeah.
so good. I have such like warm memories of those shows. It was all by this dude Pat FNS. He ended up moving to California and bringing his talents there, which is sad because like he just threw so many good shows in Dorchester for cheap with great lineups. But anyway, so like Toxic Narcotic, Richard Marr did all those records.
Yeah, he did.
Those are some of my favorite albums of all time. And I hit him up, and oh, he had also done Loser Circle. Do you know them? Um,
Yes.
those are our friends. So like I just hit him up basically and asked him his rates, and it was super reasonable. I was just like, wow, like to get like this fucking legend. I was like, absolutely. So we didn't do the full record there though. We did the drums and like the tracking for other things, but like we he had such a nice set and such a nice setup for the drums. And oh, and he also mastered it at the end. We sent it back to him. But
Where did you do
yeah.
the rest of it?
Most of that was in my apartment in Brighton at the time. Yeah, like the bass and the vocals especially were all there.
I noticed checking out your band. First of all, I want to say that Toxic Bill is someone I've wanted to get him on my show, but he's not really I think
Yeah.
he told me the last time I talked to him that he was all done, and like, but Bill's notorious in the Boston punk scene. So that's interesting that you said they're one of your all-time favorite bands. Interesting.
Especially back then, I was obsessed with Toxic Narcotic. I'm in that just for a second, but I'm in that DVD live show at the Axis
Oh, I
that
have
they
it.
put out.
I have that.
I've
Yeah.
watched it so many times in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was definitely one of my favorite bands for a long
He
time.
was very supportive of a lot of bands in the scene because was managing a band when I first moved back here in the end of the 90s called Three and a Half Girls. And he came to every show and he was like a real supporter of the scene back then. Um, so everything is fine. I noticed that you use a lot of additional musicians on that record. I mean, for a while you were just a three-piece. Now you're a five-piece. Talk about how that whole transition happened and how you ended up using all those musicians on your record.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, so I'm a big fan of instrumentation in general. I feel like the more instruments on a record, the better. Not in every situation. Like I also love Black Dots from Bad Brains. I don't want like Trump, whatever. But in general, I love violins and I love trumpets and all that stuff. And when I write, a lot of that stuff comes in my mind. And at the time anyway, I was like, you're not going to get another band member, but you can, juice up the record with extra instrumentation. And so it is funny that like, a year or two later, we ended up just kind of getting people to fill up that void, you know. Megan, who's in the band now, you know, she plays all the instruments. She plays clarinet and synthesizer and pianos and guitar. Uh, and so if you, yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that because I never really thought of it like that, but it's almost like Everything Is Fine showed the trajectory we were going to end up taking.
Did anything happen for you with that? I mean, well, all you have to do is look at the day 2020, and then it's like the year of doom. So did
Hmm.
that was that what happened to you guys too? You couldn't do anything?
Yeah, we had been working on those songs for so long. They were like some of the first songs we had written are on that album. And it came out, you know, 3 years into us being a band. And so, yeah, we had a lot riding on the album. We were really excited for it. And then everything shut down. And we had to decide if we were gonna, for a while, we did wait. We were like, I remember we like put it off. We were like, we'll do it. The first show back from COVID will be like our record release show. It'll be awesome. And like month after month, and we were just like, this isn't going to end anytime soon. And so we released the record, and we at the time really felt down about it because we were like, we couldn't do a CD release, we couldn't play the songs live. Um, but in hindsight, I kind of wonder, like, I feel like it did pretty well. And I wonder if that's just because everyone was home with nothing else to do and everyone checked it out. And then by the time we did get out, like a year later, it felt like, I don't know, like people cared a little bit more because they were like, oh, I know this shit. Like, so in a weird way, maybe it helped. The album is called Everything Is Fine. It's like the whole vibe is like, you know, everything is not fine. Like everything is fucked right now. Like the artwork of the album is trees like upside down. The world's messed up. So it's just like that art is also my dad, by the way. He did that painting.
He's a great artist. Yeah,
Yeah.
he goes way back with the art. Original Indianapolis hardcore scene, you know,
Hmm.
Zero Boys.
Yeah. Well, classic album.
Absolutely. Um, so did you get to promote the record at all, or is it just on Bandcamp and that's the is that's it basically because of the pandemic? And did you get to go out and do anything with it? Go play any shows around besides Boston area? Because it's a good record.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, blogs talked about it. We had physicals that we were like shipping out, like mailing to people that would
CD
order
or
them.
vinyl?
CD. I wish we had Vinyl Connect, but especially at that time, like during COVID, I mean, during the pandemic, like vinyl was just like impossible. Like super expensive, would have taken like a year and a half. It's still kind of like that, I think, for some people. I know some people that have vinyl that like, you know, the vinyl comes out, but it seems like it's still pretty
It's
hard.
taken a long time. There has
Yeah.
been a flurry, though, of vinyl releases, though, in the last year. I have to say, I'm very surprised that they caught up, but they
Hmm.
did. Um, so what happened in between the period between Everything Is Fine and Bait, which is fantastic, which we'll talk about in a second. What went on during that period? Did you guys get so frustrated that you almost gave up, or did you have a plan that just we're going to get through this and then we're going to make another, we're going to record again and we will be able to do what we want to do?
Hmm. Well, it's funny because Danny, if he had it his way, that's the bass player and the other like main songwriter. If he had it his way, all he would do is write and record, mostly write and play, like practice. He doesn't like the showing aspect of it, you know, like the at least not as much as everyone else in the band.
Playing
So
out, you mean?
yeah,
He
so
doesn't like
he
to play out.
I don't think so. So like I think if he had it his way, then like that was probably the best point of the band where he could just like write and we could just play at a practice space and whatever. But yeah, me and Kevin, the drummer, we were chomping at the bit and it was a bummer, but like I guess we never really thought about quitting because it was never that serious. It wasn't like, oh my God, our dreams are just dashed. It's like, no, like we are still playing, we are still having fun writing. And when COVID ended and shows were back, it also added like to this energy.
Did you play a lot of shows eventually?
Yeah, once we got out, it was like, yeah, for sure.
Did you get to go out of town at all, or was it mostly Boston area shows?
No, we played our first out of state show as a five piece just not too long ago. We went to Maine, Portland, Maine. So yeah, we don't travel out a lot actually. If anyone's listening to this wants to book us for a mini tour or a tour, we might be into that. Except for
Uh,
Danny.
okay. Uh, so bait, where did you do the bait? I mean, this is what happened, okay, and I'll probably talk about this in my intro and outro. I'm sitting in the New Alliance gallery. These guys and a girl were walking in and out, going in the store. I'm thinking, okay, somebody's recording here, which isn't unusual. Um, and all of a sudden I started talking to one of them, and I said, "What are you guys up to?" And they're like, "Oh, we're recording." And they said the name of the band. So I immediately, when everybody left, I went on my phone. I went to Bandcamp. I found it. I heard the song Marigold, and I was like, this is fucking great, man. I was like, it really blew me away. Plus the title. I love the title. What was the period that brought you up to that? Where'd you record that EP? Because I don't have that in my notes here for some reason. You recorded a 4-song EP.
Mhm.
Where did you do that? Did you do that with Richie too?
No, we did that with J Moss, who has done like the Bane record, the more recent Bane record, and
Nice.
bands like Drug Church and Title Fight, who we like love. So we ended up hitting him up for that. We knew we wanted to do something at our first release as a five piece, so like with the clarinet and the second guitar and all the extra vocals. We knew we wanted to do something um, professional and tight, and we knew that he could do that for us. So we hit him up, and he liked our stuff and said yes to doing it, which was really tight as well. And we did three songs with him. We did Marigold, which thank you for the compliments, by the way. Pack of Smokes and Carry On. The fourth track on that was like more of a bonus track that we did in our friend's basement, Ram Ranch in Alston. And we just added that as like a bonus track because we felt like three
Pack of
songs might not be
Smokes?
enough. Yeah.
Was that the bonus Pack of Smokes?
No, Easy in the Spring was the bonus. So
Okay,
that song was recorded somewhere else.
because the two songs that I don't, one of them's already played if you're out there listening right now, and I'm not sure which one, but I know you had some new stuff you're going to send me. So that might even change. So I won't even say anything about that. But I do like the songs, and I like what you did. So that just came out not too long ago, like April or something.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So did you
Yes.
play shows to support that?
Oh yeah, we were playing those songs. The songs that are on Bait, we were playing for like 2 years at that point. Um,
Once you got
it's
done with the pandemic, you started up with these new songs too.
yeah. So then this and same goes with the songs that are coming out at the end of this month, the EP. Those are also like 3 year old, 2 year old songs. And so this time we're actually trying to get ahead of that. Uh, and so we're in the studio right now that's how we met, obviously. That's what you were just saying. So we're in New Alliance right now, trying to get an early start on the next record so that we're not playing songs for fucking 2 years before they come out.
How do you like New Alliance, and who's the engineer you're working with there?
That's Kyle from like
Kyle.
Oh the Humanity.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah,
he's the
yeah.
man. He's a great guy.
So
And
you
we're
like the studio and you like recording there? You guys aren't using the tape machine, are you?
No, I don't think so.
I
I wish.
I ask people that all the time. I'm dying for someone to say, "Yeah, we use the 2-inch tape machine, man."
I
That
would
seems
love I would love to do that, but I have a feeling it would cost more and take longer.
well,
So
the
that's probably
tape would cost like 350, $400 for for the tape alone. But
yeah.
uh, but so you like working with Kyle?
Yeah, we love it actually. So throughout this conversation, I'm realizing that we've never recorded with the same person twice. We're always trying someone new. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like we were all like, this might be the best place out of all of them. Like we're enjoying it a lot. So
Because of
yeah,
the room or because of Kyle or
both,
both?
both. The vibe of the place is cool. Kyle's great, and yeah, it's like the perfect amount of like, um, it feels legit, but not too legit. And if that makes any sense, like it's not too fancy. It's got this like old room vibe that I really like. Everything sounds great in that. Like those drums so far sound amazing in that room. Reminds me of like In Utero and Pinkerton drums, and so like I'm stoked about that. So yeah,
One
everything
thing that
about it.
that's New Alliance's third location. I have a long history with them because the guy that started Alvin Long is one of my closest friends. But the one thing about them is all three of the studios have been fantastic. The guys that build it just know exactly what they're doing, and they did a
Mhm.
great job with the new room too. It's still new to me. I think it's only been there since 2019, if that.
Oh
So it's a
wow.
fairly new room. They were in Cambridge before that, and the EMF building. That's why I was confused about Crespo and EMF and all that. The more I think of it, I think EMF started at Cambridge and then moved over to the Sound Museum. Now that I think about it, so how many songs you recording now with Kyle?
So we're doing it's LP2, so we're doing 10 songs. We're actually recording 11, but the record's going to be 10 songs. It's going to be our first full length as a five piece. So in a way it feels like our first full length album because it's a departure from the old sound. It's got its own a sound of its own, and I feel like it took us like bait and switch to like kind of figure out where we wanted to go as a band because like Bait has a specific sound, and if you hear the EP that comes out at the end of the month, it's a totally different sound in a way.
So you have another EP already in the can.
Yeah, right. And it's and it's all a little bit different from one another, but I feel like the album that we're working on right now that'll come out in like 2024 or whatever, it has a specific sound. It sounds like us, it sounds original, and we're like, I don't know, I'm really really excited about it. So
So Dan's getting his wish, man. He wants to just keep recording, recording, recording. You
yeah,
guys
and
will have like
writing, yeah.
a full catalog out, and they're like, okay, now I'm ready to go on the road.
Right,
It's
right.
always tricky with musicians, man. It's always tricky. So, well, this is great, man. I'm glad that we're talking. I wanted to ask you about your personal taste in music and what you're listening to, how you listen, streaming. Do you like vinyl? I mean, what's going on with you in terms of how you listen?
My favorite albums of all time, I have on record. Like that, so like that's kind of the kind of person I am. Like if I'm being honest, I'm on Spotify every day. That's how I really listen to music.
Most of us are.
But but yeah, I have a vinyl collection of like my favorite albums ever, but I would not say I'm like a vinyl guy by any means. I still have like 200 CDs. You know what I mean? Like I like physicals of things that I love, but like on a day-to-day I listen definitely mostly streaming. And to be honest, I mean don't tell anyone this, but like I kind of love Spotify. Like
You're telling everyone now, though.
it makes it so easy. It makes it so easy to find new
I
bands and stuff like that. Like so it is I think it's a good thing.
We all have a love-hate relationship with Spotify. This podcast is going to be on Spotify, so you know.
Nice.
Um, okay, you set yourself up for my question here. So you said your all-time favorite record. I've got a shitload of vinyl in the other room, but I don't listen to vinyl every day of my life. Maybe one or two records a day, but I'm always listening. So tell me about your favorite. You said your favorite records are on vinyl. I got to hear what they are.
My favorite album probably of all time, or maybe two albums. Uh The Exploding Hearts Guitar Romantic. Do you know
Wow.
that?
Yeah, yeah. Exploding Hearts. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the Ergs Dork Rock Corkrod. Do you know the
I
Ergs?
like Mikey Erg a lot.
Mikey Erg's the best. Have you ever had him on?
No, I'd like to though. He's on my list. I have a very long list. You
Yeah.
kind of cut in front of a lot of people because I ran into you and then I put two and two together because your
Hmm.
dad was talking about you and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get him on the show. It'll be interesting." I'm trying to think of that song. Oh, it's in my head. It's the same record that he did a Jim Blossoms cover on. Uh, I
Oh,
can't remember the name of
Hindsight.
this. Yeah, Hindsight's a great record.
Yeah, it's like
Love
a
it.
collection, but that yeah, that all they're that the Ergs are probably my favorite band of all time. Like I've loved them. I saw them at, do you remember Regeneration Records by any
Yes,
chance? All right,
yes.
so I saw them at Regeneration in 2005 opening for Nikki Corvette and the Stingrays,
Wow.
and I had never heard them before, and my friend was like, he was like, you got to go for the Ergs. And I was like, okay, fine. And I was the only one in that entire room that didn't know every word to their songs. And I was just like, I was just totally in love with them. I was like, where's the singer? And like, I like see the drummer singing. I was just, I remember that day so vividly. And so, yeah, I don't know. Love at First Sight, probably my
Half
favorite
Empty
band ever.
Strip Mall. I just had to look it up. The song called Half Empty Strip Mall, when he talks about I hearing his this 1992 that I fell in love and now I'm in love forever. You know the song we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Oh, I
Of course,
fucking love that,
of
man.
course.
Not very many people mention the Ergs, man. That's a good one, man. What else you got on your list?
I said it earlier, but Weezer's Pinkerton has got to be on that list. Pixies Doolittle has got to be on that list. There's a band called Good Luck that have an album called Into Lake Griffey, which is definitely on that list. Um, a good Midwest emo band from like the like 2005 era.
You're kind of mostly in the what I would call the post-punk, poppy punk kind of vibe going on, which is,
Hmm.
what your music kind of sounds. Believe it or not, I was listening to your music and at times I kind of heard a little like Dag Nasty almost in there. I don't know
I
if you
mean, I
know
love
the
Dag Nasty.
yeah, I kind of heard it. I could hear it, man. Pete, maybe you sound a little like Peter Kortner, more so
Hmm.
than Smalley, which is a big compliment coming from me because I put that Field Day record on. It's one of my proudest accomplishments, believe it or not, my life. So it's a compliment to say that you
Uh,
sound like Kortner.
it's definitely a compliment. Dag Nasty is nasty.
Yeah, they're one of the good ones. So, is there any newer bands now that you're listening to that you like brand spanking new, anything like that?
I listen to tons of current music. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. My favorite current bands, I wouldn't say brand spanking new, but like, like bands that are playing right now that are like doing good things in their career. I am obsessed with Prince Daddy and the Hyena. Do you know them?
No.
Oh, they're so fucking
Thank
good.
you for telling me something I didn't know. I love that.
Please check them out. I mean, they're the best band doing it right now, in my opinion. I also watched them come ground up, like 2016, no one at their shows, and now they're playing like big shows.
Are they an
They're
American
so
band?
yeah, they're from like upstate New York or some shit, but they're really blowing up. They're having a moment, and they're so good. There's a band called Pool Kids that I've been really into lately. A little bit more mathy emo, but very very good songwriting. Um,
Any
yeah,
Boston bands that you guys like to play with that you like?
there's so many good Boston bands. We're playing at the end of the month with this band Bad Idea USA, which like to me is like one of the most underrated Boston bands ever. I get mad when I see their Spotify monthly listeners. I'm like, they should be so famous. Like great, like simple pop punk songs that are just like so perfectly done. I highly recommend them. We're also playing with a ska band called Pink Slip at the end of the month, that same show, and they're really good as well.
I'm a big fan
Um,
of the simple pop punk songs too, by the way.
hell
Always
yeah.
have been. Why
I could
complicated?
I could tell because we're geeking out over like the ergs and
Yeah,
they're the
that was
best
a
at that.
that was a good one, man. All right, man. Well, any shows or anything coming up that you want to plug?
I don't know when this will come out, but yeah, November 25th EP is coming out and we're playing a show that same night at the Midway Cafe. So
Midway and Jamaica Plain.
yeah.
Um, Bandcamp's the place I imagine to get your record.
Yeah. Bandcamp, any streaming service really. This one that's coming,
Self-released album.
yeah, we've never done a label. It's big pizza all day until someone gives me a decent contract. All right, but
It
yeah,
might be waiting for you out there. You never know, man.
I'm not holding my breath, but who needs it in this day and age?
All right, dude. November 25th, the Midway Cafe if you're in Boston. Awesome. Is that like an afternoon matinee or is that a nighttime show?
That's nighttime, but it's funny that you say that because we almost always play the matinees, so it's
I
gonna be
love
weird for us.
matinees.
Me
Show
too.
them my age now. I love the matinees.
Absolutely.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
It was a total honor, man. Thank you.
All righty.
All right, have a good one.